we cannot stop because we need to be as strong and as steadfast as the Lebanese people is, as the Palestinian people is as well.
You've been to Palestine and you weren't allowed to go to Gaza.
The reason why I've been trying to get to Palestine is because we hear a fake story about everything.
This was the stereotype back then.
Not only I've been lied to about Palestine, but about Lebanon, about Brazil, about Latin America.
And to correct these misconceptions yourself, because you can't rely on the media, because as you've said, the mainstream media is not a reliable source of information.
I've seen the power that the Zionists and US imperialism had. I said we cannot beat them. And then we will beat them and we will defeat them, we will expel them from Lebanon.
Since then you've been following.
Yes.
حلقة جديدة من سردية عز في موسمه الثاني. ضيفي لليوم من البرازيل تياغو أفيلا. Hello, Mr. Tiago. I'm very glad to have you in this episode. So you're an internationalist, an activist, and influencer. And you've leveraged your influence on humanitarian issues and top causes that mean to human beings, as you'd like to say. You're part of the solidarity movement with Palestine and the global South. I'm very glad to have you in this episode. Tiago, you've been to Palestine in the year 2019, and you weren't allowed to go to Gaza back then. Yes. You've decided to manipulate things and to go to Gaza by boat, but also you couldn't. You've decided to go through Egypt, and you couldn't. Two questions. Why were you that persistent? One. Two, you were able to see Palestine from a village in Lebanon called Maroun al-Ras, now in the year 2025, in particular in February 2025. What does this mean to you, seeing Palestine from Lebanon?
First of all, thank you, Hassan, for having me here. It's such a pleasure to be here. Pleasure. Actually, I've been saying that I'm so honored to be in Lebanon because I love the Lebanese people and I love the Palestinian people as well. And you have something so special. Not only the fact that you change human history because of resisting imperialism and Zionism, but also that the people were so kind, so respectful, so loving, that makes me feel like home, makes me feel like I'm in Brazil. So
because you deserve all this this behavior with you. So
yeah. Shukran, Habibi, shukran. I'm very happy to be here. And the reason why I've been trying to get to Palestine is because when I was 18, so 20 years ago, a long time ago, I discovered what was going on in Palestine. And at first I thought like most people in the West, they think like it's a religious war, people that have been living in war forever, there's no solution.
This was the stereotype back then.
Yes, of course. We are also victims of a very colonized educational system and a very Zionist media, so an imperialist media. So actually you don't hear the truth about what's going on anywhere in the world, not even in Brazil itself, but our neighbors in Latin America and the global South. Actually, we hear a fake story about everything. So when I was there, I was reading about Palestine 20 years ago. It amazed me because I realized that it was not a religious war. It was not about a violent people from a violent religion or a violent Arab ethnicity. So it was not that at all. It was imperialism, it was Zionism, it was colonization. 78 years now of imperialism, colonization, which structured itself into an apartheid and colonialist regime that was actually led not by a religion, but by an ideology, which is racist and supremacist, which is Zionism. So that shocked me because I realized that I had no idea that was that. And I said, I have to know more about the world. So Palestine opened my eyes to the entire world. And I realized that not only I've been lied to about Palestine, but about Lebanon, about Brazil, about Latin America. So I said, I have to understand more about this.
And to correct these misconceptions yourself, because you can't rely on the media, because as you've said, the mainstream media is not a reliable source of information.
Yes, and then I started reading. So I went through looking for Edward Said, to William Papé, Gaston Canafani.
The Orientalist views on the region with Edward Said, yeah.
Yes. So it amazed me, Hassan. And then a few months later, which was already 2006 by then, Israel invaded Lebanon. And then what I've seen happening with people for the last year and a half regarding Palestine, that they get shocked and say, where is international humanitarian rights? Where is the Security Council? That happened to me 19 years ago.
So your story with this exploration started with the Israeli invasion to Lebanon in the year 2006.
Yes.
Or it coincided at least.
Yes,
yeah?
yes.
Wow.
And when that happened, I said, so there's no real diplomacy, there's no real international law, so that they think they can do anything. And then I started to understand. I've seen a person that I had never seen before from Lebanon talking to its people, rallying them to resist. It was Said Hassan Nasrallah. So actually, it amazed me because I've seen this person, which I had never seen before,
Wow.
and was speaking as a leader of its people and saying that they would resist.
Since then, you've been following Said Hassan Nasrallah.
Yes.
For 20 years now. Yeah?
Yes, because he said something that amazed me by that time. When I've seen the power that the Zionist entity had and the imperialism, U.S. imperialism had, I said, we cannot beat them. And then Said Hassan Nasrallah said, we will beat them and we will defeat them, we will expel them from Lebanon. And I said, oh, okay, every leader will say that to rally its people. But then 30 days later, he did.
In August 2006, you've realized that he was able to do that.
He was right, man.
So he gave you an injection of hope, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah? And it was a good momentum and a good start to your story with discovering this issue.
Yes.
Yeah?
Then I understood that the people have way more power than we can imagine. And that's why whenever things are hard on our struggle against the genocide of the Palestinian people, against all of the aggressions that the Lebanese people are suffering from the Zionist entity, whenever we see all the troubles that we have in Brazil as well because of imperialism, I understand that we cannot stop because we need to be as strong and as steadfast as the Lebanese people is, as the Palestinian people is as well. So you're actually inspiring the whole world. So whenever we think that things are hard,
we want to give up. So you remember these stories, and I guess you don't need to remember them because you've lived them in the year 2023 and starting October 7th, 2023,
yes.
and in October till October 2024, November, December, until this moment. So this triggered you or enthused you to visit Palestine. Yes. Having seen Palestine in Feb 2025 from Maroon Ras, as we've said, what did this mean to you?
To me, it was such a happiness that I could not control. I was so excited to see it once again. I was so emotional to see, because from Maroon Ras, we still see occupied Palestine. So that's something that's very tough, because when we are here, we can see like colonization in every stage. So we have the villages that are still free and sovereign, like we have in Lebanon, but we have the semi-occupied villages that we have some in the border of Lebanon as well.
In the southern border
yes.
of Lebanon, exactly.
And we have some like, for example, Al-Halil in the West Bank, that some of the city HQ is already occupied by the Zionists, by the colonists. But we also have the places where they actually did ethnic cleanse. And in the territories occupied in 1948, when I was there, the place that they called Israel, there were so many villages destroyed. And I've been to some villages, I've seen the debris. And I was thinking, if we lose, that would be the future of West Bank and Gaza. And so when I saw Palestine once again from Maroon Ras, I saw, so far I'm seeing occupied Palestine, but I'm sure we will see this place liberated someday, because I know that the Lebanese people and the Palestinian people will never stop. So that's why I thought...
They will never stop from... But if I were to tackle things or to approach things from a utilitarian approach, from a cost-benefit analysis, Tiago,
yes.
What happened since the 7th of October in Palestine and since September in Lebanon, and still you have seen the level of destruction, some yes. villages were flattened, etc. Top leaders were killed yes. by Israel. Tens of thousands of civilians were killed as well. And still you are hopeful. But can we afford keeping on paying this massive cost?
This is the most important question, and I think everyone in Lebanon has that question in mind. Because in the end, the Lebanese people has paid a price for being solidary with the Palestinian people that the whole world should be sharing with the Lebanese people. This is not fair at all.
As a Lebanese, it's not only a cost for supporting Palestine. Yeah. It's not only that. it's a cost of defending our land.
Yes.
Because regardless of whether we've support, I believe, regardless of whether we've decided to support Palestine or not, the Israelis had some plans to reoccupy southern Lebanon.
Yes, the Greater Israel plan was always there.
Exactly, and it's not Tiago's analysis or Hassan's analysis. It was said out loud in October 2023, after the 7th, like
Yes.
on the 11th of October. So your audience in
Yes.
Brazil and in the whole world have to know that. So do you think that the benefits outweigh the cost of doing what we are doing or not?
It's very important that we understand that all people deserve to be free and deserve to get rid of their colonizers. And the costs are extremely high. And the way that we diminish this cost is by having solidarity, is by doing things together, is by mobilizing more and more people. Because the cost of doing nothing will be much worse. Because not only are you giving up on your land, but you're giving up on your integrity, your dignity, your sovereignty, your self-determination. So the destiny of the people that do not fight and do not resist is much worse than the ones that fight, and despite the huge costs, they can actually win. I'm really convinced, Hassan, that the Lebanese people will be able to liberate not only the entire Lebanon, because with the ceasefire, they violate the ceasefire so many times, and they still didn't leave 5 strategic points. And there was also a dispute of occupied land, Lebanese land that they occupied, they called Northern Israel. But I'm
You're
very
referring to
convinced.
Shebaa Farms.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm very convinced that the Lebanese people will win this war, and the Palestinian people will win as well, because it's such a...
We're the landowners.
Yes, of course, of course.
Simply.
You're the indigenous
And-
people
yeah,
here.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like we had in Brazil, we had so many years. We had indigenous genocide promoted by the European occupation as well, European colonization. But in the end, the people will always rebel to be free. And I think that's the right of the people to be free. When we see people at Hassan Nasrallah's funeral, remembering Karbala and remembering all of the resistance, I'm pretty sure that the ideals of people deserving to be free will never die. And the Lebanese people is strong enough not only to think about it, but to do something about it. So I'm pretty convinced that the cost was huge, but the benefit to be able to not only liberate your own country, but to change the course of humanity, like the Lebanese people and the Palestinian people are doing, is something that it has no price, my brother, because you can do so. You have done so much already, but you can still do so much more, because I think that the whole weight that the world has put on you, because billions of people are supportive of Palestine right now. We have a social majority that supports Palestine, but not all people know what to do. And the Lebanese people are showing a way of what to do. So the benefit of that is, it's such an honor, something so important that to be honest, I want to follow the Lebanese footsteps, the Palestinian footsteps. So I'm inspired by you.
Amazing. So you've debated many Zionists in Brazil on the top podcasts of the country.
Yes.
How was your mission?
It was actually very tough, Habibi, because you know, on the 7th of October, everyone was such a defensive in Brazil and many Western countries, and they were, because the media was so aggressive about everything, saying terrorists, 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 and they were like preparing and trying to validate what would be the Zionists' backlash and the way they would attack the Palestinian people. So they were preparing the terrain for the genocide. And when I saw that, I said, I have to say something. So I made a video. It was a very quick video. It was 5 things you need to know about Palestine before getting into the media frenzy. So I will talk about occupation, apartheid. I will talk about Gaza being under siege since 2007. I will talk about UN and the reports about apartheid, about genocide. I will talk about Amnesty International, human rights watch, the most
all
basic
the violations.
things.
The most basic. And you know, many people when they're tackling such issues might only remember the dates, but they forget the context. They forget the history. They forget, or they don't tackle what happened since 1948 till the 7th of October. So maybe here's your role, Tiago, in creating the proper context and in telling the whole story.
Yes, it was very important. But when I did that, and this video went viral, like 12 million views, and then they banned my TikTok page 3 times. My Instagram got so much shadow ban, and other social media just simply would delete my videos. But then the Zionists had to pay attention, and then they started to invite me to their podcast because they have so much money, so they sponsor the podcast, so they have a captive seat there. They are always there sharing their views. And when they invited me, I said, usually we refuse to debate with them because otherwise we are validating racism and supremacism. Exactly. But then we discussed together with the Palestine Solidarity Movement, we said, no, we should accept because it will be the first time that the audience is going to hear about it. And I did. But in the first one, it was on October 17. 10 days before the escalation of genocide, the bombing of Al-Ali Hospital.
Oh, wow.
A few hours after that, I was debating him, and there were so many death threats under me. And so that the Arabic community in Brazil, which is huge. We have 10 million Lebanese in Brazil, more than here,
exactly.
Actually. And they were so kind because they greeted me there. I don't live in São Paulo, I live in Brasilia, the capital. So they would greet me at the airport. They would take me into armored cars with security to go to the podcast because it was so dangerous.
Wow.
And I was not allowed to sleep in a hotel. The police said, it's not safe for you to go to sleep in a hotel. So they took me to sleep at the mosque. And it was something so amazing because at the mosque, I was talking to Sheikh over there and learning so much about Islam, about love, about respect, which is something that I had no idea, to be honest.
So you had more arguments for your debates as well.
Yes. Every day in Brazil, when I travel to cities, people usually host me at the mosques because it's the safest place and, to be honest, the place I feel more comfortable to be at.
Wow, lovely. So you think that the public sentiment in Brazil and in other places in the world changed in the aftermath of October 7th, yeah?
Yes, I like to think, and I really believe that in the depth of my heart, that the Palestinian people, the communicators from Gaza, they gave us a present, such a gift for mankind, which is the lenses to see the world as it really is. Because the youth right now, they don't believe the mainstream media anymore. And they will never believe them again. This is something so important because they were saying there was no genocide. They were saying just right to defend itself. And people were seeing children getting bombed, hospital getting bombed. And then people realized that they were being lied to. So the Palestinian people gave the lenses to see the world that it really is, but the Palestinian and the Lebanese and the Yemeni and so many people, they showed also a map, not only the lenses to see, but a map for
the road of action, the plan of action, the call to action as well, maybe.
Which is to resist with any way you can, converging all the tactics that we can into liberation. So that's a gift, the lenses and the map, that's a gift that humanity and mankind will never forget, and you were the ones who gave us that.
Amazing. You attended the funeral of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. So I think that when you talk about this moment, it's a bit emotional. What were the emotions you've received during this funeral, and what are the major takeaways, the messages that you'll go with to your home country?
That's amazing, Hassan, because I was so honored to be at Hassan Nasrallah's funeral because I study a lot. I do courses in Brazil. I produce content about it, about anti-colonial struggle, about anti-imperialist struggle. And nowadays, we don't have that many examples of people that can say that they defeated imperialism and Zionism. And Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah can say that defeated not only once, but many times. In 2000, in 2006, right now, actually. This is also a victory because despite the costs, the Israeli occupation suffered many strategic defeats.
Many strategic defeats, and one argument is that they weren't able to achieve any of the declared objectives, the objectives which they've announced before the 17th of September or the 23rd of September. So that's how you define victory, yeah?
Yes,
but the Western world doesn't define victory like this. It's more materialistic, maybe. So
they have no morals. So they say something right now, and the other day they believe that people forgot what they were saying before, so they simply don't mention what were their declared objectives, for example, and they find a new thing to say that, so this was the symbolic victory that we needed, and they go day by day with their misinformation, with their new facts, and now they would say that, oh, it's a family that was murdered by their Palestinian resistance, which was actually murdered by the bombings, the Zionist bombings in Gaza. So they were always trying to find something new to misinform and to mobilize hatred against the Islamic people, against the Arabic nations. So they would always try to find something. But in the end, whenever we look at those situations, we understand that they really cannot win. In the end, we see that when I was at the funeral of Hassan Nasrallah, I understood that what we say about anti-colonial struggle, that if you kill someone that is such a leader for its people, the backlash is actually even worse for the colonizer than what they thought, because the person now becomes a shaheed, you say.
Martyr,
So
yeah.
once you're a martyr, once you're a shaheed, you can inspire a lot more the youth. So what I've seen actually, when I was coming to Lebanon, I thought, so the decapitation strategy from Israel was very crippling to Hezbollah, so the people were very low morale, things are too hard. When I got here, and when I was at the funeral, I've seen that not only Hezbollah has a huge social base with people of many different backgrounds, all walks of life. I've seen solidarity from many countries here. I've seen so much power, so much capacity to do and change stuff, and I've actually seen a support which is way bigger than I thought, because I seen people from other tendencies of Islam. I've seen Sunni as well. I've seen Christians. I've seen all of the sects here. I've seen at the funeral, and so it was actually much better than I thought, because the Israelis, they try to scare people by sending their fighter jets, right? And I was there at that moment. No one was scared, Hassan. No one.
Yeah, I was there, definitely. I saw that.
It was amazing. It was like it was passing a toy above us, because people were actually so enthusiastic. And that's when
And
I
chanting
understood.
death to Israel and the other slogans.
Yes, so they cannot scare the Lebanese people anymore, because you gave so much already. Every piece of land was paved with so much blood from your martyrs, from your shaheed, that they will not scare the Lebanese people anymore. So, and then I understood that, being at the funeral, that Said Hassan Nasrallah is one of the greatest people in history of anti-colonial struggle, anti-imperialist struggle, like Che Guevara, like Fidel, like Nelson Mandela, like Thomas Sankara, like so many people, like Imam Khomeini. So we are all together in this historical march. So I already admired Said Hassan Nasrallah before coming here. After his funeral, he's like top reference for me.
More iconic than
amazing
than,
person,
than
amazing
he,
person.
he was.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So your fight is the fight of the oppressed versus the oppressor, of imperialism versus the global South. Yeah.
Yeah, I really believe this is the historical battle of our generation, which is a system that was designed to explore, to oppress, and to destroy nature in all aspects of our lives and in the entire planet, and that must be defeated. This system, the capitalist system that organizes itself into imperialist system, is the cause of all evil, is the cause of all the hatred, all the destruction that we see in the world. So unless we stop this wheel of destruction, we will actually be able to see the end of life as we know it, because we have environmental destruction, because we have so much oppression.
No sustainability at different aspects. Yeah.
Yes, so I actually believe that I dedicate my life to it. Actually, after 20 years, I understood that my purpose in life was to be a little ant, Hassan, with a lot of little ants as well,
but
doing this work.
Coming from Brazil, why did you choose this path, this very costly path, this very complicated path? You could have created a shortcut. With a different career, why did you choose this path?
Yes.
This would be my last question, Tiago.
That's very nice, Hassan. I was studying the history of revolutions, and I said, this system has designed for me a life that I'll work a lot, I'll be exploited, or I will exploit someone in order to accumulate wealth, to accumulate material goods, to compete with my brother right beside me. And that's no way an ideal of happiness for me.
It's not the laissez-faire, laissez-passer word, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I said, this way that they did, this future that they designed for me does not fit. I don't want to be part of this. I want to be together with the people. So Brazil is a very unequal country. So I went to visit the indigenous communities, the campesino communities. I went to our neighbors, to Bolivia, to Peru, to Colombia, to Venezuela, to Cuba. And I've seen such a strong people, because our indigenous people is also very resistant in Latin America.
So you've decided to craft your own future
Yes.
and to contribute to a new narrative.
Yes.
And you were able since the 7th of October and even before to be a major contributor to this narrative, Tiago.
Shukran, habibi.
And that's why you're one of the guests of Sardietas, whom I was very glad to host, especially that you're our guest in Lebanon. Your deep insights in this episode will be explored and cherished by many viewers worldwide, and I highly thank you. Thanks a lot, Tiago.
Shukran. I'm very glad to be here.
My pleasure.